This is my so-called handmade life. I have a blog by the same name, and that is my name on Instagram. On Ravelry, I am Mamatronic. Ravelry is a knitting website, and if you didn't know, but you probably do, this is a knitting podcast, mostly. I'm also doing crochet now, and I plan to do a lot more in the coming year. But it's a crafty website, and I talk about making stuff, DIYing things, and I also just ramble about whatever I'm thinking about this week. So be prepared for that. But if you comment, I'll probably talk about your comment or share what you've said online. And you can comment here on YouTube. You can comment on the blog where I embed episodes if it will let you. And you can comment in my Ravelry group for my so-called handmade life, where there's a thread for each episode. So if you leave a comment, just be aware I might be discussing you in a good way in the next episode. I appreciate all of your thoughts and input. Even if we don't agree about something, I'm interested in how you see things. And that always helps shape me. I like different perspectives. It helps grow mine. I might deepen my attitudes or opinions about something, or it might change because of something someone said that's just a very different thought. So I appreciate all that. So thank you all for your Happy New Year wishes and for your comments about your goals. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. I also appreciated, Leslie, you explaining to me why my son was using a drill to make his wire tree. I'm hearing strange noises. I'm sorry. I think it's either my dog doing something or I don't know. Anyway. He was using the drill to twist all those wires together to make the trunk. I guess I should have thought of that, and I didn't even ask him how he did it. I was just so blown away when he gave it to me, and then we just got busy the rest of the month and the beginning of January. So I never asked him, but you told me. I also wanted to correct something I said. In the last episode, I showed you Jen, it's Giggly, her book Visions, and I talked about how rather than doing like Fair Isle or Intarsia knitting, there was a use of paint to make color variations on the sweaters. I think most of that was actually bleach, and I don't know what I was thinking. I knew it was bleach because I've read through the patterns, but it's just been a while. And it had a splatter paint look, like black yarn looked like splatter paint on a shawl or a hat. But it was actually splatter bleach. And some of the dip dyeing was actually dip bleaching, which is a very neat idea. And I like the idea of bleach more than paint because paint isn't a substantial, long-lasting effect on a sweater, I would think. But bleach is a chemical change to the fibers, so I thought that was pretty important, worth my mentioning if you were considering trying something in that book. So, I had a birthday this month. I got my Joann's coupon. It's really not that great. They usually have a sale that's better than the coupon, but I went with my family to Enchanted Rock in Fredericksburg. We try to do it like once a year now. It's become like a little tradition, I guess. My husband and son and I will go and meet my daughter and her husband there because it's near where they live, and we'll just spend a weekend and try to hike Enchanted Rock. And this year it was open, the hike all the way to the top. The rain hadn't been bad, and so we could walk up to the top, down, and then all the way around, and we had a really good time. We love it because it's like one of the only good hikes with elevation change in Texas that's conveniently close to everyone. We like mountain hiking, you know, but we just can't do it where we live very often. Also, it's just really neat. There's a lot of bare rock, and it's fun to scramble up them, climb. You can hide in, and there's lots of little, I don't know, interesting little nooks in that park. So it usually works out that my daughter and I are walking ahead of everyone else talking. I don't know why. I think maybe we both have kind of the same nature. It's not an impatient nature, it's just what's next? What's next? Like when I'm walking down a trail, I'm excited by that turn in the trail, because what's next, you know? And so I find I'm walking faster and faster, and next thing I know I might be running if I'm alone. She always ends up in the front like that, and I always end up with her, and I've noticed it several times on trips, and I never plan it. We don't plan it that way. I like talking and walking with everyone, but it just always seems that it ends up like that. And then I realize, oh, look, we're doing it again. But the thing I love most about when we all get together is I like to talk. I like to hear people talk. I like to hear what they're doing, what they think about things that are happening in the world or in their lives, things they enjoy. I mean, we're a family of talkers, definitely, as you can see. It was just really, it was a great trip. I'll try and show you pictures. I have some goofy pictures of, like, there's this rock that it looks kind of like a pedestal. If you see it from the side, it's like super thin. It's like maybe this thin. But it looks like a wide pedestal, and every year since they were little, when we would go every time, I would do something on it silly, like a karate move or a yoga move, you know. It just looked really silly. You don't really realize how probably dangerous it was until you look from the side, and I never felt unsure of myself, but this time, it's been like 10 years since I did that. I did not feel comfortable standing on one foot, you know, on that rock. I did not. And I thought, gosh, is this because I'm getting older, or is it just a lack of practice? And I think it's the practice thing. We just haven't done anything like that with elevation in a while. The Tetons, when we hiked that was several years ago though. So I think it's time for a little more mountain hiking for my husband and I, which is part of our New Year's goals. But I'll show you the photos. I did finally decide on, well, first I just acted like I was taking a nap on it, and then I decided to do, like, it's called Superman. Some people call it Superman, where you know, you've got your arms stretched out and your feet, and then you bend your back. You just kind of make a bow shape.
You want me to just plank? No, yeah.
I thought Superman put his hands together like this.
Yeah, I thought he put his hands straight forward.
The Superwoman, she does it different.
I can't do it. The rock is too painful.
I'll have some padding for you. Here's the shirt. Uh-oh, she's getting serious now. Pull your shirt down. Pull your shirt down. Your belly's showing. This is the fall of man. She's not going to be able to get out of it. Da, 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 da.
And then I had to have my husband help me down. I was really feeling like a mom. But we had such a good time. And my son said, he got on that rock and he was like, I wouldn't stand on this with one leg. No way. So I didn't feel quite so old. But it was just a great trip. We went to Hondo's, and there was a lot of dancing. They had a band playing really good old country and other stuff, but a lot of country, a little bit of swing too, and we really enjoyed watching the people dancing.
How's that cheating?
Evening we went just for dessert. Stop. I'm sorry, my my other son, Spot, is moving the camera tripod. We went for dessert at this place. I can't remember the name of it. Oh my goodness, it was so good. I'll flash the name here. We just went for dessert and coffee, but I had the best dessert. A pot of chocolate is what it was called, but it was like a mousse kind of, but it was super dark, not real sweet. It was like exactly what I like. And that was like my birthday cake. So we had a really good time. Every night, staying up late, talking. And the whole time I was working on my Winston. I was working on my first version of Winston. I finally was like, gonna fix those sleeves, gonna get through that body, gonna get it done maybe on this trip. And then it looked so short that I made it longer. I added like 3 inches to the length. And when I put it on, and I finished it while I was there at the Airbnb, I put it on and it was so long and saggy and the fabric just didn't seem substantial enough. I ripped it out and I ripped all the way back to the beginning. And I just did it. I went 2 sizes down and knit it again. So I'll show you that in a minute. But I looked back on my goals from last year about this time, you know, because I asked you in the last episode, what are some of your goals? Craft goals and like personal goals. And I look back on mine. I look back on some of yours and I've touched base with some of you to see how it's going. I looked at mine and which ones I kept, which ones I didn't. One was to make stockings and I totally did that. I still haven't made the loops to hang them, but that'll happen. I can do it an easy way or I can do I-cord. I wanted to wing it on a project and just make something up. I did that with this sweater. Of course, I haven't like really finished it and then I messed it up, which I'll talk about later, but I did that. I just wanted to make something. I just wanted to make a big, giant plaid monster. And then I wanted to go on long walks and I did that most of the year. Toward the end, when all that excitement happened, I didn't, but I did that. I wanted to learn to sew, didn't do it. I did learn to Poshmark though when I needed clothing and I didn't want to buy fast fashion, you know. And I wanted to knit from old pattern books and I didn't do that either this last year. But I'd like to do that still. So I wanted to carry socks with me as an extra project anywhere I go. I did that quite a bit. I did knit a few pairs of socks, like maybe 4 pair or 5. So I can go ahead and just jump right into my goals for this year. I mean, if I don't do any of them, I'm not going to be upset, but I think I will. Quite a few. It also involves my recent knitting. So, obvious goal that most of us have, I've heard others of you say it, is to stash down. I want to use from stash this year. And as we consider moving, oh my God, I really don't want to move this stash with me. Lori had shared that she like sold a third of her stash. That might be something that has to happen, but I'd like to use it up as much as I can. So I want to do that, and I want to get these works in progress done. I have 3 sweaters, like winter sweaters, that I'm in the process on, and I haven't finished. The floozy, you know why. That is really slick yarn, and I am struggling on size 0 needles to knit it. And for some reason, it has to be those needles or the gauge is off. But I also have Guthrie and Omnia, and they need to be done. I have 2 other summer sweaters, May and Fire Opal tee, which I've already knit a Fire Opal tee. I'm not going to be too upset if I don't finish that one because it's like, you know, it's like a reknit, a second one. It's not as much fun sometimes to knit something you've already done before, but I'd like to get them done. So I brought Floozy with me to the movies. We've seen a bunch of movies lately. We saw 1917. That was so good. I really enjoyed that. It made me think a little of like a video game my son would be watching. One of these Modern Warfare or I don't know what they're called. Like I know they had like Medal of Honor. They had games that were based on real campaigns. And that kind of made me think of that because the whole movie is filmed like one long scene. And that is really neat about it. It was also really moving and strange to see these young men fighting that basically look like my son and his friends, you know, that age group. So it was moving. It was good. So I brought this to that. This is my floozy. You can see I'm in the middle of a row. Sorry. I'm close on the body, and then it'll just be sleeves. But these tiny little needles are just really making it hard for me. But it really is beautiful. And when it's done, you know, it will be very well worth it. So this is beautiful yarn by Yarn Floozy, hence the name Floozy. And this is by Libby Johnson. So I want to get this done. I might could even get it done for the end of spring and get to wear it a little, at least indoors. We don't really have much winter here. So I also worked on that during the classic movie. We went to Friday. It was Dazed and Confused, which is like not a kid's show. And also, I really couldn't relate. You know, it's supposed to be like, well, it's in the 70s, but that, you know, kind of, I think, if I remember right, like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, like end of the school year, kids being kids kind of thing. I really couldn't completely relate. All the driving around to like Sonic and drive-in type places, we had a drag. It's a street here locally. It's a long strip. And people would just, on Friday and Saturday nights, it would just be the slowest traffic, bumper to bumper, teenagers just driving up and down, looking at each other as the cars passed, yelling out windows to each other. That's it. I mean, people rode on the drag for hours, and that was their Friday night. So that was pretty accurate, that kind of thing in the show, that all they did was ride around. I don't know what young people really do now. My kids would always like go to a friend's house, or they always had a school activity, you know, like we didn't have all those activities. Also the hazing, whereas they would give licks to the 8th graders about to be in high school. They shaved boys' heads, you know, so all the 8th graders got their heads shaved sometime over the summer or right before the end of the school year, so that when they went in as a freshman, their hair was growing out. And I remember one kid, they put a bowl on his head. They did this for several kids. They put a bowl on their head and shaved completely around it. And so they had this weird bowl-shaped hair on top of their head. Anyway, I knit on Floozy through that. Gonna get those whips done. And the other whip I already talked to some about was Winston. It is almost, it's not been a year, but it's been several months since I started this pattern. And I was disappointed, you know, that it was too big, didn't fit right. So I redid it in basically a size 32. And for a size 32 bust. But I think because of my yarn, this is Lion Brand. It's sea glass colorway. And I did alternate skeins, so it's not really stripy. It just looks kind of different. I don't think this looks too stripy. Well, in the camera it does a bit, but it's a subtle stripe. I don't mind that on the sleeves. They're even. And I guess I can put it on, you know, this isn't the best shirt to wear it with, but I can show you the top feels really generous and roomy, and I don't know, maybe I need to make it longer. The bottom just seems to not fit. I mean, it fits, but it just doesn't seem to work with the roominess of the raglan top. This is meant to be an oversized cozy sweater. So, and I'm wearing the wrong type of shirt under it, right? But maybe my ribbing is just too fitted here. But anyway, it also may be the way this yarn is doing. This is not very much wool, maybe just 20%, but you can see it's kind of roomy here. I feel like if it were a drop sleeve, a drop shoulder, I would like it better. I would like it better. And I would also make it go out wider here. So maybe I need to rip back this ribbing and, I don't know, and let it be a little bit looser. You know, my waist is here, and my jeans, like lowrider jeans, kind of come here. So this is long enough. Okay, this is it. It looks like I needed to pick up fewer stitches here, because to me then the roominess here balances the roominess here in the arms. But when I let go of these stitches and let it hang, I just feel like it's just a little, maybe a little ill-fitted for me. So I did pick up the recommended number of stitches, but perhaps, and this does look like most people's, maybe I just needed to do fewer. But you know what? I didn't make this to accept an Academy Award in. I made it to wear when it's really cold, especially outdoors. Like if I'm camping or something and I can get, dirty in it, I can do whatever. It's meant to be comfortable and warm and machine washable, so I'm not gonna, worry about it. Now, one of you, Stacy, in the comments said, you've already knit one, a regular one, and then you knit a seed stitch one like this. Because this is not, the pattern was not seed stitch. Jane Richmond did it in stockinette, but she did use Lion Brand Thick and Quick for the first one. When she did her seed stitch version, she used a different yarn. I think it was Quince & Co. But if you look on, and I'm going to have a link, I always link everything in the notes. If you look on her project page, she has directions for how she changed it to make it seed stitch, and it's really helpful. And I didn't catch this, but Stacy did and commented and said there's a short row version so that you can use short rows in the back to make the back slightly longer than the front. And she really liked doing that. And Jane did that on her. So I don't know. I'm going to still look at it and see. I've actually postponed joining Jennifer Beal's J-Knit Beal Knit Along 2020 because I just feel like, especially if we're wanting to move, we don't know, there's been some possible this or that, and then, we're just not sure. It's something we're just praying about and preparing ourselves for, but I don't want a lot of works in progress laying all around the house. Mentally, I just need to have that all cleaned up. So I'm going to postpone joining that until I get at least one more sweater finished, which means I might not even make it in the knit along, but I'm going to do her project. No matter what, I'm going to knit her sweater. So, along with catching up on all these old projects, another goal is to repair some that have needed it for a while. Sorry. My dog, my big dog, literally, if I'm not in the living room, she gets on the couch. She's not supposed to get on it. And she rustles and moves around till she moves the couch cover that's to keep her pet hair off the couch, or the other dogs. She moves it off and she sits in the spot that has no cover. I have never had an animal like her. She is controlling in a way, but yet she's so doofy. You just have to love her. So here is my Sunset Highway. I told you guys a while back that I felt like when I switched from the Fair Isle, which was a very thick fabric, to just a single strand of yarn, it's like this yarn, I needed to go up a needle size, and I didn't, maybe. And so it clung to my body. So this is kind of big and oversized. This sets you up for a little bit of a, not big and oversized, but it's a little oversized. It sets you up for a casual, drapey fitting sweater. But mine didn't drape. It kind of went in and would like hang on my body and actually kind of lengthened longer than it was. So I did some extreme blocking on it. I blocked it again, and I'm not going to put it on because it really won't fit comfortably over this shirt, but my eyes are watering so bad lately. They're just itchy and dry all the time. You can see it seems to hang straight instead of kind of coming in like whoop. So that didn't take much effort. I had to use blocking pins, but it was cool. It was all right. And now I actually feel good about wearing it. So that was one I repaired. Another one was, it wasn't supposed to need repair, but it's turned out needing it. I finished my Odeline socks and I showed you guys, but I didn't notice I had a drop stitch. And so I put this in here to hold it, but you can see this little hole forming right here. yeah, I dropped a stitch right in that lace part, and it's real nubby yarn. It kind of held together, but as I moved it around or put it on my foot or something to try it on, it did drop loose and started to go down. So I caught it, and I'm just going to have to go in and I don't know how I'm going to thread it up, work up, and then tie it off somewhere, somehow, with an extra piece of yarn, I guess, because I'm not going to unknit, which is a shame, because what a great sock. But it won't be any less of a good sock, you know. It's just, I don't know, the imperfection is there, but I can embrace that. I can go with it. I just want to get everything kind of straight in my head. All the projects fixed and usable. So that brought me to another one I worked on. I showed you this color craze and how it kind of, you know, you start at the top here, and it was very pointed and triangular before I blocked it. I've blocked it out, and you can see a bit of a point here, you know, see? But it's not too bad, and I did get it to make a crescent shape. However, I don't have a ton of pins. You can see where I pinned it. Actually made little points in it, which aren't supposed to be there. So I'm just going to steam block those. It makes kind of a little ruffle. It doesn't really look intentional, and it's not even. That wasn't on purpose. What I was trying to do was just really stretch this larger edge out so that it would make a nice big crescent. And I was also trying to stretch this into a crescent shape to kind of minimize how this pokes up. I believe that's how, you know, most people wear theirs. That's how Tammy's seems to be. This is Tammy Gore's Color Craze pattern, and I did this with using mini skeins from a homespun house. So this colors really look good to me. I really love these colors. Here's this side. But I'll reserve my final everything about it like next week. Next episode I'll probably talk about it. I just need to steam block. Now that I've done the basic main stretching, and I really had to work to get this the right dimensions and shape, I will smooth these little ruffles out. And I've actually worn it anyway, though, out to eat. So it doesn't look bad when it's on. It looks intentionally ruffled, but I don't really want that ruffled look. So it doesn't seem complete, but I'm one step closer. And finding the place to spread out a giant shawl is not easy. I think that's the exact same thing I need to do with my Zelda shawl. I need to kind of force that crescent shape out of it. So that's going to be the next shawl I work on in my little repairs that I need to do. So let me tell you about my big plaid monster sweater. I have this one long strand, and it's under my dog. Come on, Spot, let me have it. Okay. This was my little wing it project. This is actually the inside of it. This is my wing it project that I did for the knit along that we had last year, the Wing It Cow, where you just try to wing it, you know, do something new. Try not to use a pattern, or use a pattern and kind of step outside the boundaries of the pattern a little. Use your creativity. So it could be like a dishcloth, you know, practice stitches and do a dishcloth that you kind of make up yourself, or slightly modify a pattern, just whatever level you felt comfortable with. And some people just completely made up their own sweaters. I did too. I made up this little sweater, which is very busy. I know. I like it though. And I made it to be oversized on me, you know, just a drop shoulder, very plain but wide fit, so that there was a lot of positive ease. And then I blocked it. Then I went in and did crochet, chain stitch, vertical stripes, and that just changed the nature of it. It didn't drape as well. I guess I did not do those loosely enough. It's possible it would never drape the way I want it to with crochet in it, but I think if I had done it more loosely, it would have. It doesn't seem tight, but it did. It brought the bottom up. It crunched it up. So I blocked it, you know, that didn't seem to really help. So I waited for a while, like basically several months, and I blocked it again recently, and I really worked on, you know, these were wet and had wool wash on them, and I really worked on kind of pulling and loosening that. And all I ended up doing was making the ribbing kind of floppy. The whole sweater, it just hangs weird on me. And I know, I have so many ends to weave in, but I'm really glad I didn't weave them in because this doesn't look so great. That would have been a lot of trouble for nothing. Okay, so keep in mind, the sleeves do fit normal. I'm just wearing a shirt underneath that doesn't really allow them to hang right. So this looks fine, right? It doesn't look bad. But when I turn to the side, you see this. Well, it doesn't, I don't think you can see. It just kind of looks kind of A-shaped, A-line. The whole sweater looks kind of A-line from front to back. And I don't like the way that looks. See how in the back, it looks like it doesn't fit. Well, obviously it does. It wasn't knit shorter than the side or the front. And it's not the way I have it setting on me right now. It's because these chain stitch vertical lines are just holding it up, and I yanked and I yanked, and I just ended up making the bottom, the ribbing, loose, and it's just not, it's like the whole sweater, there's no real drape to it. It's like it's solid pieces that I pulled and pulled, and so they just kind of moved outward and down. So I think I can fix it if I just, I'm going to have to cut, because I started from the bottom, I'm going to have to cut the ribbing off and rethread, you know, my needle and just redo the ribbing and make it tighter. And I think that will pull it all in. But I need a fix for how to do this because I wanted to make another one out of sport weight yarn, and I wasn't going to make it as bold a plaid. I'd probably just do a couple of lines this way and a couple this way and not make it quite so busy. But I would like to do the other one. I have the yarn for it and I want to do it. So, yeah, it's just crazy looking. Anyway, if you guys have ideas on what to do, and I know I'm not really conveying how kind of misshapen and it's not hanging right. It's hanging kind of stiff and strange. If you have any ideas, let me know. So I'm probably just going to try to tighten the ribbing, and that'll hold it all in. And oh well, I'll wear it. I'll wear it like this, but I won't love it like this. Oh my gosh, it's so hot. But I'd really like a sport weight version, and I was thinking of making, the sport weight version was going to be more cropped. I'm trying to see if there's anything else. Oh, capsule. I'm going to take the sleeves and lengthen them. Maybe just lengthen the ribbing just about that much. They're just a tad short. And so I thought it was maybe the clothes I was wearing after I knit it, wearing it over a sweater or a bulky shirt, but it's really just that I was excited to end. I had extra yarn. I didn't have to do that. I was excited and I stopped too soon. A lot of end weaving on all of that too. That's part of my end weaving party, definitely. I have to finish weaving in the ends on dirty lace. So fixing all these things is definitely going to be a priority for me. Isn't this great? These colors. This is Libby Johnson's Dirty Lace. I just have ends I need to weave in. So all that end weaving, repairing, reblocking, gonna do all that. Okay, another craft goal. As far as creativity goes, I've told y'all, and last year I thought I would do it and I didn't. Or the year before, actually. The year before last year. I see things on TV like old shows and I think, oh, I'd like to knit that. I want to just do that. And some of it's just silly and fun. It's nothing too important. It's not like I need this in my wardrobe, but just for the fun of it, see if I can do it. Kind of in the vein of that plaid sweater. I just wanted a giant plaid sweater that was very plaid, and that's what I got. And I'm glad that I did it. I just wish I had, you know, had it completed. So I want to do more of that this year. And also, I would like to catch up on blog posts on all of my stuff. Basically everything I made this year, I posted very little about it on my blog. It's just been something I've put off. I think I focused on this podcast and neglected it. So I want to catch up on all of those. And I'd like to move that blog, but that's just going to take some extra work. So another goal is before I go to the Knitting in the Hills retreat, I'm going to a class. I think I'm going to get into this class. I'm just assuming I will. Dawn Barker of Chasing Rabbits Fiber, one of her classes, it's a cow that she's written a pattern for, and she's kind of teaching a class on it. And I wanted to use her yarn, her beautiful yarn that I have, and I just save like it's precious because it is. I need to get that done. So I would like to do a Love Note sweater in Dawn's Wildwood colorway. So this is my favorite color that she has. And, you know, Love Note doesn't take but 2 skeins if you do it, you know, a little cropped version. And I got matching mohair in the same colorway from her, and I am so excited. I've had this for a while in my stash. I've had this a long time, and this for a while. I think that would make a beautiful Love Note sweater, and I probably will only be able to wear it a half a second at that retreat, unless they keep it cold for all the knitters inside. But I really love the idea of using her yarn to make it. I also want to do the Columbia pattern. That's her shawl pattern. I still want to do that totally, but I love knitting sweaters, so I'm thinking in that Wildwood colorway, one of those. That's a goal, is to knit from her stuff. I also have been interested in Alexandra Tavel's patterns, so I knit the Voyager cap. I did this, I think I got the kit from Lion Brand. Yeah, I did. So this is their LB camel, merino, and camel. It's going to really look great. And it's big enough that you can fold it over your ears and you still have your little gnome point here. It's soft. It's softer than the average wool. Like, this is DK, I think. It's softer than, say, a wool of the Andes or something would be, with that camel in it and the merino. It's also a little more slippery, like it's I don't know how to say it. It felt a little more elastic as I was knitting, so I had to really take care with my gauge. But I mean, this is a really good pattern, and you know, you don't have to knit it as long if you don't want the little pointy top. It fits over the head if you don't knit it as long. So like, you could just say I cut out an inch or so of this. You know, you have a great skull cap, so you can really tailor this to who you're knitting it for. I enjoyed it. Well-written pattern. It was kind of fun to do a Lion Brand kit. And I started recently, when I finished all my, where I could, you know, knit something easy, watching TV, all of my easy sock knitting, all of that was taken up. I started her Campfire blanket scarf pattern, which I need to show you guys. And I'm mid-row. Let me show you the pattern. This is knit with, the pattern calls for Lion Brand Fisherman's Wool, which is one of the most affordable wools you can find. A lot of people don't feel like it's great quality, but I really do think I will use this for things like around a campfire. It's more like a little throw, and see, it's more like a throw. It can be worn as a scarf. Let me see if I can find it being worn, and kind of poncho-like almost. So anyway, I wanted to go ahead and do it in the yarn it called for. I kind of like doing that. When I find someone who has a pattern that's knit, like a lot of her patterns are free on her blog, And they're all knit with, almost all, with very easy to source yarns that anyone can find. And I'm intrigued when people do that. I'm not saying that she'll always do that, but I love using exclusive type, hard to find yarns and independent dyers. I love doing that, but I also, there's a part of me that I find it really special when someone just uses things that everybody can get their hands on and they still make it look good, you know, because a lot of times when people use something like Lion Brand, it might not come out as well. I mean, you've got to really work with the yarn. You can't just treat it like you would any wool. But you see here, this is like striped like a blanket, right? And then the horizontal stripes are added, just adding running threads through the purl bumps. So the horizontal stripes in the fringe are added last. I am just on the beginning of the pattern, and I started and it was a little too small. So I went back and I'm using size 11 needles, and it's just cute. You know, just 3 different colors. They're oatmeal, heathered, which is like a marled, and then a brown. And it is great, great TV knitting. And I gotta tell you, the floozy is good TV knitting, but I can only do so much on size 0 needles. It really hurts. I've had issues all year with my wrists, and I'm having to baby them. So that's one reason my knitting output is slowed. This is so easy with size 11s. I mean, it's just been so easy on my wrists. I've really enjoyed it. So there's several of her patterns I'd like to do. I used my coupon for Joann's. I have it here somewhere to show you. They had this on sale in the clearance section, and it's Lion Brand re-up. It's just, you know, recycled cotton with, I think, some polyester. Yeah. And it just feels kind of like a cotton hemp is what it feels like, but it is just cotton. And I thought I would do, this is just useful. Some of those market bags that she has, and we actually might use them at the grocery store. I could do a couple of these with it, or one of these and something else, just for fun. I could do a headband with the rest of that yarn, you know, something summery. But I have yarn for, like, I got a couple of her kits. I'm trying to look and see what the other kit was. Oh, I don't know about this. I mean, it looks heavy. It looks like it would actually be heavy, but it's really cute. This Flower Child circle tank. It's really retro and cute. I just don't, I don't know, it looks like, but I guess not, you know, with cotton, and it's actually a cotton polyester blend. No, it's completely cotton. The Streamline tank, and this is in a cotton, no, this is in cotton and bamboo, which I definitely want to have for the summer. Mine is a silver gray. And then the other one is this, which I would like to do. I'd like to do this one soon before it's too cool. I mean, it's too warm. This Winds of the Atlantic topper. This would be a fast, well, it's crochet. That's the only reason it wouldn't be quickly. I couldn't do it quickly enough to get it done while it's still cold here. I want to do that in this oatmeal tweed colorway. And I did get the kit for that too. So I got these kits a while back, these 3 kits. Maybe this is the one I got as a kit. I don't really remember. A lot of these are offered. You know, you can get the pattern on Ravelry. So anyway, it's with a purse strap, so I think that looks cute. It's like a faux leather strap. Anyway, I want to do a lot of her patterns this year. I want to get those kits used. One of the things that she's got out right now is the Traveling Afghan project. And she came out with the first square for it, and every couple of weeks a different designer is going to take a square, and they're going to do a knit version and a crochet version that looks similar. So I did the first one, and the second one just came out. So I did my first square and blocked it. And I'm not using a kit for this. They use Lion Brand something. I don't remember which kind of cotton, but I'm using Brava by Knit Picks. I was going to get, I thought, it's time to I should make a throw or an afghan for us to use in our living room when we're watching TV or something. Something I can throw in the wash because I have animals that, snuffle around on the furniture and will get their paws on it, dirt on it. And so I chose these grays with this kind of a teal blue. And that goes with like the color scheme, I guess, in my living room when there's not dog covers on everything. And then we have all those rugs on the floor so that Potsy won't slip with his little old joints, We get our floors done and then we've had to cover it with throw rugs everywhere. I thought it would be fun to make anyway, and it's just like a square every few weeks, so it's really low commitment. I'm just going to have to sew them all together, that's all. But while I was doing that, I had two friends that were going to have a baby, and I thought I ought to make some quick baby blankets as gifts. And Lavanya Patricelli, is that how you say it, or Patricella? Let me look up how to say it. She came up with, let me find it. So one of the patterns I would like to do as a gift is the Aquarian baby blanket by Lavanya Patricella. And it's a brioche blanket. So it's a little more involved and it's knit, so it's not going to be super fast. But I would like to do that for one of them. And then the other, she's adopting her baby. The baby came early. So actually I'm either going to have to, as soon as, I haven't even gotten the yarn in. So as soon as I get it, I'm either going to try and make a stuffed animal with it, something fast, or crochet a blanket. I was going to make something kind of like that scarf I made a while back, kind of based on a Madeline Tosh scarf that had chevrons. I called it Rory Needs a Break because I did it. It was a TV knit. I made it to look like a scarf Rory wears in the Gilmore Girls. But I did it for a Gilmore Girl knit along. But I was going to knit something like that, but I think I need to do a really quick crochet blanket so that she can have it because the baby's already here. And is healthy and fine. I think I've accidentally made it the year of the blankets because that's 3 blankets, 2 as gifts, 1 for me, and then I've got my granny square blanket, which I've made really no progress on since I last showed it, but I did want to show you. I love this. See how fine this is compared to the worsted weight of this other? Just the difference in working with the two yarns. And this is wool fingering weight yarn. So yeah, I'm enjoying this, working on it, and I keep thinking, oh, I really just want to work on that right now, but I've made myself the last 2 weeks really focus on reblocking, fixing things, finishing stuff. But every once in a while I need to just take time to do this. This is my stress reliever. This is for the Scrappy Blanket Make-Along that's going to be going basically probably all year with Andrea Jimenez, the Knit Picky, and I are hosting it. And she's actually finished her blanket. It's a baby blanket, which when she said she was making a blanket, I think she did say it was going to be a baby blanket, but I didn't get it was going to be her baby blanket. So I'm really excited for her having a baby. Their last podcast episode is the Mockingbird Fiber Company podcast. I was like, wait, what? Did I hear that right? That's for her? Which I should have known, but I had to rewind it and check. And it's really sweet. I'm happy for her. So her blanket is done, but there's a lot of you that have joined. Elena's joined, Nancy has joined, and Eve. So I've really appreciated seeing it's under the hashtag Scrappy Blanket Make Along on Instagram. It's an Instagram knit along. It's super, super laid back. And that is my scrappy blanket, because these others really aren't scrappy. They aren't old stash. They are new. So those are my knitting goals pretty much for the year, or my craft goals. I looked back at some of your goals that you said you had last year, and that was neat to see what they were. And I know by following you on Instagram, or as you talk on YouTube or Ravelry, that a lot of you have achieved those goals, and I'm excited for you. So Lori wants to lose some weight in a healthy, sustainable way. She's gained and lost like the same amount of weight a few times in the last few years. It just creeps up on her. And so she wants to do it in a way that's, long-term, sustainable. And she's like, any ideas, let me know. I really don't know. I mean, I thought I knew how to maintain, a healthy body. And then it's like, because of stress, mine just kind of came crashing down a few years ago. So I don't know. I do just keep going back to what I was doing before. Even though it didn't seem to be working for me, the stress was the added factor that screwed it up. And now that has lessened so much, believe it or not, even this explosion thing by my house, I don't really consider that super stressful. It's not like people you love dying, it's just not. It just seemed like nothing compared. Of course, nobody was hurt in the blast. If they had, that would be different. But with all that stress having faded now, I'm finding that my old way of living, it's working again. I'm feeling good. I have energy, and I mostly eat a lot of veggies. I try to avoid gluten or wheat when I can, because it's not the same wheat our grandparents had. It's not as good for our gut. And dairy. I don't do a lot of dairy, and I don't do a lot of sugar. And but even so, we have to move more. And it's really hard to do today unless you have a job that allows you to move more. You've got to make the effort. And it's kind of hard when we don't have any natural activities that let us. Like, I remember Julie saying how she has this hobby farm, basically. And it keeps her animals, caring for them, that keeps her moving all day long. And there you go. That's total, the ability to totally be healthy. If you eat right and you live like that, you've got it all. You probably end up doing the functional fitness for strength training that you need too. But the rest of us, most of us, don't have that. So we have to go out of our way. And Lori, I would say a little strength training. It does help. I hate it, but I just use light weights or body weight, push-ups. I go into a deep caveman type squat and do it really slow, several seconds down, several seconds up, and just do 20. Stuff like that, basic curls, overhead press with some weights. It's so boring to me. It is. It helps maintain our metabolism and our muscles and our fitness the way old-fashioned work would have if we lived old-fashioned lives. So she wants to do that and finish a brioche sweater that she started for her daughter, and she has just sleeves and collar left to do, and she doesn't want to pick it up. She's sick of it and needs motivation to get back to work on it. I guess if you guys have motivation, let her know in the comments. I would just say work on it while you do something fun. Either if it's while you're with a group of people that you enjoy being around, or you let yourself have some kind of treat as you work on it. I know this is so babying ourselves, but I might turn on a show I've been wanting to see and say, I can't watch podcasts or I can't watch this show unless I'm working on this project. And then I would get through it. And Andrea, who is hosting this Scrappy Blanket Make-Along, she got this blanket, her blanket, finished so fast. I mean, it started in was it December? She just worked 30 minutes a day and it was done. And I thought, that's what I need to do on my floozy, and just, be careful with my wrists, but 30 minutes a day and get that done. Silver Tree said her goal is to knit a garment for each season. So something for each time of year. Something appropriate for spring, summer, fall, winter. That's a good idea. And to write down good memories to save, which, you know, that's one of mine, and several of you have similar goals. Els has a lot of goals, like really specific, like write patterns for 2 garments that she designed last year. Be more monogamous with her knitting, like focus and finish one thing at a time so that her attention's not divided. Finish all of her whips, same Els. Design 3 new things. Keep up with her vlog, which you might have mentioned when I first met you here on YouTube, Els, that you had a blog, but I didn't remember. And so anyway, I went and I found it and subscribed. So I can't wait to see it. And she does one in Spanish and one in English, which is really so time consuming. That's so much work to put into a podcast. That's really inspirational. And here I am struggling to just edit all my uhs and ums out. You want to go to a knitting festival this year. Find a more fulfilling job or a fulfilling job that allows you to have peace of mind. Boy, that's a big one, isn't it? And you want to write another Spanish novel, also in English. I didn't know you wrote one. So now I want to know, what is your book? What is your novel? The first one. And that's exciting. And then you want to yoga more and read more. Those are good. I want to read more also. So I hope that you accomplish those things, Els. And then like at the end of the year, I'm going to look back and hopefully I will know where you are from following on your podcast, which ones you've been able to do. And then you might just chuck the whole list and go for something else. Ada just said her only goals are to be joyful and kind. That works, Ada. That always works. That's a good reminder. Lisa wants to try to learn something new every year. And so this year it is brioche and mosaic knitting. And mosaic knitting is going to be really simple for you to learn, I think. And it's so much fun. It's so much fun. That is what the floozy sweater was, the yoke, and it went so fast. Katie wants to try something she read about. It's like a good things jar. So all through the year, when something good happens or you have a good thought, anything positive, write it down, stick it in the jar, and then at the end of the year, pull these things out and look at it. And it's a really good reminder that a lot of good things do happen, and we need to focus on the good things more than the negative. That would be really good for me to do. Really good for me, for my family, because I tend to be, you may not realize this, the glass is half empty person. And I often have this sense of gloom about things, personal things, not other people. So that would be really good for me because I need to be more grateful. Definitely more grateful. Elena's goal was to journal just a little bit at a time here and there, and to stay focused on her projects and not get too spread out. She wants to finish the things she starts, and Elena is doing that with her crochet blanket, her scrappy blanket, definitely. And then whatever projects you're going to come up with during the year, I'm excited to see on Instagram. Jen had mentioned, maybe it was the beginning of last year, that there is an app for journaling. I think it might be called Day One. And that might be helpful to you because it's stored there on the app. You can download it and put it on your computer, your hard drive if you want, but your phone's always with you if you want to jot down a memory or a thought. Daniela wants to slow it down this year. That's a great goal. Daniela, have you heard in the past on podcast episodes, it was recommended here to me, the Slow Home podcast, and I still listen to it here and there. I kind of got off of listening to podcasts as much when I walk because of another goal I had this last year. And that was to work on memory and memorizing verses, and I did that a lot. So that's what I did with my mind when I was walking. But I would listen to Slow Home before, and that's a really good one about slowing our lives down, being more mindful, and reducing stress. It might be helpful to you, but I really wish you all the best of luck with slowing your life down. I think you can totally do that. That's extremely doable. Louise wants to do Make 9 this year. She's a newer knitter, and so that would be a challenge to make 9 things that are planned. I've never done Make 9. I said I would, but I didn't stick with it. I always make 9 things. I just never make the 9 things I say I'm going to make. Eventual Knits, Leah, was saying that she's been journaling. This is not really about saving, but on the idea of journaling, that she's been journaling via live journal for like 17 years. That's so good. I mean, she took a break here and there for a year or so, but that's really awesome. And she loves going back and reading those things. And of course, it's digital. It's not like she's got books and books of stuff to drag around with her. You know, she's revisiting her younger self and reliving it a little. I love that you've been doing it 17 years. I can't think how long I've been blogging. And blogging is similar. I love to go back and read my blog, but I don't get quite as personal as I would if I were journaling. And often when you journal, you can write about things while it's fresh, whereas you would not want to share it with the world until you have a little perspective. At least that's how I am. Gabrielle wants to design 1 pattern and knit a shawl for herself. And to remember that life is too short to do things out of obligation, but to get out of the rut that she's in, do things more for fun, enjoy herself more. I'm guessing that you've been through a really tough time with family illness and things, and you're starting to see what's important in life and that you need to make the most of your life. She says loving and laughing while you can. And you're young, Gabrielle, so it's good that you're learning that now. That's a hard lesson. And I think that on some level, that lesson has happened in my life, but later, not in my 20s. Later, seeing illness with family members. And I think it was more on track, more normal to see that in my 40s or so. Actually, probably my mother would have been the one to really bear that burden, and she would have been more in her 60s. So for you to be in your 20s, realizing that is wonderful. And I hope that happens for you this year. I'm excited to hear. Beth wants to knit from stash, unless it's a test knit or a sample that has to be done with a specific type of yarn. I hear you. Same thing here, Beth. And then you want to eat healthy, exercise, and scan some stories. That's a really neat story that really fits in with one of my personal goals. See, I've talked about my craft goals, but now I've got my personal ones. And they're the ones I mostly really try to stick to. Beth has a bunch of stories her grandfather wrote and called it Bridging the Gap. Like, he made a collection like a book, and he would read them to his grandchildren. And she remembers having him read these when she was young. Well, now she has these handwritten stories. She wants to scan them and have them to read to her grandchildren. So that would be, these grandchildren were born 100 years after her grandfather. And I just think that's such a beautiful family memory. And like all this talk about taking up space with things and clinging to things, I mean, it's just paper. And when you scan it, it's digital. And everyone in the family can have a copy. That's really cool. That's really cool, Beth. So that brings me back to my quandary with, what if we move? I've got all this stuff in my garage. How am I going to handle it? I need to go through it. I've been going through it. Every day I do a little of something. This last week I went through costume jewelry and things. Some of it was old stuff I had when I was, younger or was given to me. Some of it was from a great-great aunt or my grandmother. But I went through and decided, okay, there are things I just want to keep because they're so cool. But then there are things that I would actually use and others that I wouldn't, and that could be passed down to my daughter. And then I had a lot of things of my own that I just don't really use anymore, and I could sell them or I could donate them. One thing I did, though, everything was stored all like in a messy, it's like a little tiny traveling vanity suitcase, and it was all like a mess. It was hard for me to get to my jewelry to use it. So I went on Etsy and I got these little boxes, oak boxes, that I can slide in a drawer. Like, they would fit, like, You could fit 2 side by side in a sock drawer, say. And they're made with little divots here, little legs, little feet, so that they can be stacked. And I actually have some stacked. And so I put them in a drawer in the dresser, and now this is just some of the stuff in it. You can see maybe a couple of pairs of earrings per space, and like I can see everything. I can find it. It's not tangled. That was really part of my KonMari. That's part of my organizing things to use it. And then I have a stack of things to give away. I also had a stack of costume jewelry given from another relative that I was never going to wear, but I thought it might be fun to make some funky jewelry with it. I may end up just getting rid of that. For a while, my daughter and I would get into it and do things, but I don't think either of us will be using it. So anyway, I've gone through knitwear, I already told you, and a few of you had ideas about knitwear. Like Katie, you said that as far as finding your style, and then you want to get rid of things later or give it away when it's not your style, you felt like there's 2 phases for finding your style as a knitter. At first, you're just learning the skills to knit, and you're trying all these skills, and you're not really able to visualize how it's going to look in a garment. But once you've got those skills down, then you come to the stage where you can see how this will look on you. You can visualize it and say, that's probably not me. And so that's true. That's totally true. And some of those sweaters were for the challenge of making it. I mean, honestly, I still like making things sometimes that I might not wear just for the stitch, but I don't invest in a whole sweater now that I wouldn't think I would want to wear. And then Ada had said, she went through a period a while back, if something doesn't suit her anymore, she'd just give it away. She gave away all of her sweaters. She had none, and so now she's creating a new pile. One of my goals is to clear out my garage, get it cleaned up, only the things we definitely want. And that's going to take more than me. It's going to take my children going through things too, and my husband, so that could be months of work, just a little here and there. I want to also scan some of those memories. But in going through memories, let me just share some of your thoughts on that, because I found it really helpful, and it reinforced what I'm feeling kind of called to do here. Annette said that she started focusing on just making new memories. Rather than focusing on the past and hanging on to things, she focuses on new memories, making them with family and friends. And when something triggers an old memory, she shares it with them. Sharing that memory could be cause to reconnect with someone. So she's using those old memories to kind of fuel the making of new memories. Also, she took photos of lots of items that she didn't want to keep. She took photos of it so it's remembered, and then she gave it away and would often share it, the history of it, with the person that she gave it to. So then she's passing that little bit of family history down to. And giving it away or donating it is better than passing away and your kids throw it in a landfill. So several of you have that dilemma where your children just aren't going to want it. And I know my children aren't going to want all the stuff that I have ended up with. I'm not sure what your name is, but Welcome as the Flowers in May is your YouTube handle. You said, hanging on to loved one's stuff makes the joy of the memory begin to feel more like a weight if you feel like you have to hang on to it. But when making space to allow, making space by giving some things away or donating them, it allows her to enjoy the things that she chose to keep. They get to be front and center and in a place of honor. She can see them, she dusts them, she handles them, and that makes those things and the memories attached more special, rather than everything being crowded in a closet somewhere or in a box. Totally. Talk to me. Keep going. I need this. Also, speaking of scent memories, I talked about how all kinds of things can trigger your memories, even smells. She said chapstick. I thought this was a really sweet story. Every time she smells chapstick, she thinks of her dad's truck. He was a waterman, and when there was severe weather, he would have to drive from one pump house to another, and the kids would often take turns riding with him. and he always made it fun. And so she has that memory of being with him in his truck. I think that's such a sweet memory. Do you know I have a similar memory? This is not like chapstick, it's weirder. If you ever get in an old car and turn on the air condition, the first smells that come out are really, it's probably like a mildew smell. But my dad often had old cars that he would fix up, and his work trucks or work cars were always like the most beat up of all the cars we had. He was a mechanic, so he never would buy a new car. And sometimes I'll get in a car and or maybe it'll be at another place, and I'll get that smell of like air conditioning with maybe a little mildew mixed in. It doesn't smell bad to me though. It totally makes me think of being in my dad's LTD, Ford LTD when I was a kid or something, like driving around, because I would be in the front seat when it was just me and him, and I'd really get that whiff of the AC. You didn't get it in the back. And I would follow him to like the parts store. I'd go with him, and I would get a Coke, a bottle Coke, or Dr. Pepper while he would be getting parts, and I was like his little buddy for the day. That's what that made me think of. Jay Shree was saying when she was 17, she left to go to school in England, and her relationship with her parents was totally carried out through correspondence. So she has all these precious letters that they sent back and forth, or that they sent her. I don't know if she has the other way around now, but she made a memory box for this. I love this. Jay Shree, I love this. She made a memory box with their letters, and there's a shawl and a watch and her father's wallet, maybe her mother's bangles and her mother's saris, and they're all there in this one special place, kind of like a hope chest, but it's like a memory chest. I love that. It's also something that is contained. It's not overrunning your life, and you can share it with your children. And she actually said she wants to pass down their teaching, their thoughts, that she passes down verbally with her kids. I just love that. That is a good idea. I have the potential to do that. I mean, I have little things like that in my parents' love letters that they wrote each other, which is so precious to me. Also, I do have a hope chest, basically, a cedar chest, and it has some different like baby clothes and things in it, but I need to kind of refine how I store these things. I love the idea of making a memory box like that that's kind of devoted to your relationship with your parents, and then one day your children will have that. I like this that you said, Elena, that you've moved a lot, and so you've gotten used to kind of culling your belongings, and your kids don't want them, so you don't want to leave all that for them to take care of, and where's it going to go one day? And so that helps you consider, do I need to keep this? And then you remember that this world is not your permanent home. That I believe that this isn't my permanent home. This isn't where it all ends for me. This stuff isn't the most important thing. It's not the end all. It is just stuff. That's true. I feel that way too. And I certainly don't think I have. I don't want to have a miserly attitude, like I'm hoarding my things. I've got to have my things because this isn't my home. Not really. I believe my home is the afterlife, and that's where I want to be storing up treasure. I want to be doing things that are meaningful, that are helpful, that are, glorify God, that help people around me and are kind. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. I appreciated you saying that. It puts into perspective what you really need and don't need. And then Adina had to recently go through her late father's home, and she had gone through her late father's home and then the home that she and her late husband had raised their family in for 18 years. That's a lot of going through things, and she was like, I can't keep all this. There were lots of pictures of family members. They were once treasured. They meant so much to someone, but she didn't know who these people were. A lot of them weren't even family members, Trips and vacations with people she didn't know, and she finally kind of came up with a sort of a test, like if she didn't recognize anyone in it, she got rid of it, give it away, whatever. A lot of snapshots were just tossed because she didn't know anyone in them. No one knew anyone in them. If she recognized someone in it, she might keep it if it seemed special, but she couldn't keep it all. I mean, she had things like, she joked like a weather report from back in the 50s or something in a city. I mean, she doesn't need to save that, you know. So if the memories were important, she would retain them, but if not, she felt like, okay, you can't keep it all. And you don't have to keep it to remember the person or the times. She said, if you don't remember it, it wasn't really that important. Because if it's important, you're going to remember it. In general, I do agree with you there, Adina. And I think that's a good rule for figuring out if we want to keep things or not. But I do think the Google brain is real. And there are a lot of things that are more important to me than, I don't know, all the stuff that I've lately been putting in my brain, impeachment stuff, more than some goofy show on Netflix. And I'm not even going to remember these TV shows I'm watching in a year or a few years, yet they're chasing out, that information is chasing out more important things. So that's why I'm wanting to write stuff down. But keeping things written down, even digitally, is not the same as keeping a lot of belongings that you have to move with you. I totally get what you're saying, Adina. I think that's awesome, going through 2 houses like that. That is a major work that you did. This is going on so long. I want to keep doing the things I was doing last year. Eat a lot of veggies, keep going on those long walks, and I've got some new shoes I'm going to try. These Zero shoes. They look like normal tennis shoes, but they are minimal shoes. You can see they're super wide. They don't do supports. There's no arch support in here. It is basically just a this little hard rubber. It's a very flexible sole, but they're super minimal and they're also super light. So I like that they look normal. Most minimal shoes look like water shoes, and I'm tired of that. So I'm gonna do lots of long walks. My husband and I have camping trips planned like every month of the year, and hopefully we can get back into doing those in February. This explosion stuff kind of got us off track, and we want to do lots of long walks when we're doing that. Want to write down the memories, catch up on the blog, and then the other one, we've got a lot of stuff going on. We're trying to make decisions, and we're really willing for whatever we're supposed to do. I do believe that like there's something God wants us to do. Maybe it's to stay here and deal with the circumstances of where we live. Maybe it's not. We're up for whatever, and we've been praying and asking for direction. But while looking for direction, I kind of had Isaiah 58 pressed on me, and basically, in a nutshell, the people are saying, "Why aren't you listening to us? We've done these things. We fasted, we prayed, we did all these different acts of submission, and you're not. Where are you? You're not even listening to us." And God basically tells them through the prophet Isaiah, is that really the kind of fast I wanted? Is this really what I want? You know, you come and you worship on a certain day of the week, and you fast and you do all the stuff, but you oppress your workers. You make them work twice as hard. You're unkind. There's poor people all around you. You're not helping them. I'm major paraphrasing, but that's the point of it. They're oppressed people. What are you doing to loosen their burdens? How are you helping the people around you? And you know, you're asking this of me. You want me to, you know, basically commend you for fasting once in a while. He said, the fast I want is that you loose bonds of oppression, that you feed the hungry. I think the verse went like, spend yourself on the hungry. I really liked that, and that meant something to me. Now, you don't have to be a believer in the Bible to take that thought to heart. So what am I doing? I'm here looking for direction in my life from God, and I don't think that I was doing anything wrong with that. But it's like, as I read that, I thought, what I need to be busying myself with, though, while I wait for direction, is the basics. I need to make sure I'm still helping people. Am I spending myself on the hungry? Am I giving as much as I could? I'm not. I could give more. Helping the oppressed, you know, we've talked about racism. It's really alive and well where I live, and I've done things, and I've been part of things. I can do more. It was like, just basically like a kick in the pants. Keep at it. Just because something exploded near your house and you think you're going to move, don't stop everything. Keep going. Keep giving and doing for others. So anyway, what that leads me to think is that's something I want to keep in mind. I want to keep doing that through the year. It's not like something I'm going to talk about, you know. But I know a lot of you do things for other people. So my question for you, ways that you, if you were to do an Isaiah 58 fast, where you help the oppressed, spend yourself on the hungry and the needy, encourage others, because like the oppressed can be like truly politically oppressed, physically oppressed. It could be emotionally oppressed people. What are some ways that you would do it? I'm just curious, because that's been on my mind heavily. So, anyway, I loved reading all of your goals, and I loved your thoughts on not being too hung up on stuff. And boy, doesn't that last thought of spending ourselves on others, doesn't that make my worrying about, oh, should I keep great-great-grandmother's whatever, seem kind of petty? It really does. One more thing. I got the most lovely gift from Anna, who's a viewer and a friend, and she made me this cowl. And she said, I thought that these colors would be something you might like. It seemed kind of like, isn't it not? Look, oh my gosh, is this not colors I knit all the time? It's kind of like a burgundy, and then these grays with a little bit of shell or pink or tan color in it. I love it, Anna, and it's soft. Oh, it's so soft and fuzzy. I'm going to show it up to you guys up close. Isn't that beautiful? It's a simple striped cowl that I am loving and wear with pride. So I wanted to thank you, Anna, for this. This is so precious to me. Anna also had a big package of gifts that I could keep. I could keep it all, or I could share some as podcast gifts. And I would like to do a giveaway later this year, and I'll just show you some of it. And I don't know if it's all right here in front of me, but, and actually, you know what? Here I am. I'm talking about collecting and needing to get rid of things, and all this lovely stuff comes my way, and boy, was that a trial, Anna. Was that a trial? So, Carbon's double points. A really cool project bag. This could be like a sock or a shawl sack. Really nice. Really neat fabric inside. A little feather fabric. A shawl pin that looks like it's made from a recycled bottle bottom. Like the bottom of a bottle is what that looks like. A glass bottle. I'm going to take it out. Sorry. You can't really see it through the plastic. Gosh, this is so neat with a glass bead on the end. Just so, so neat. There was a little notebook, which is not here, in here also. And then, I think I have everything. Yeah. Oh, some tea, which I'm totally keeping. And then 2 packages of Crystal Palace Kid Merino. And I just want to say, so I'm not keeping all of this. I'm keeping a little of this. This is really what I want. This is so precious to me. This is the thing, right? So I feel like, you know, I can totally share. But I just wanted to show these colors. This is really beautiful. It's mohair and merino. Sorry. I'm thinking kid silk haze. It's mohair and merino. And so this is a really neat blue-green combo. And this is like a color, this is so interesting, a color. And I'm thinking this needs to be what is in the podcast prize because it's so neat. It's a green and yellow. And the way it, I don't know if you can, this is picking up, but it is such an interesting color combination. So anyway, this is enough to hold, like, you know, you would hold a lace weight mohair strand through a whole sweater. This is enough. So anyway, I'm going to be doing another knit along later in the year, or a crochet along. It's going to be a whatever along, a make along, I guess, because I'm not going to talk about it too much right now. It's going to be really fun though. So if you're all those people like me, and I read some of your comments, some of you are, that are trying to get those whips taken care of, start taking care of them, because in a few months, hopefully life will be more settled for me. I want to do a really fun knit along. It's not going to be, it's going to be very frivolous, but it doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be complicated. It's just going to be fun. So I'm looking forward to that. Kind of a nice little break in all of our serious sweater knitting. And thank you, Anna, for contributing to the viewers of the podcast along with me. Ah, this is so precious to me. I love this podcast. I love everybody I've met on it. So, y'all have a good week, and let me know if you were to do Isaiah 58 fast, whether you believe in the Bible or not. If you were to just say, I want to set myself, thinking about me and what I want aside, and spend myself on the needy, spend myself on the oppressed, spend myself on the hungry, what would you do? What are some ideas? Let me know. Bye.